Hello, and welcome to Inspired to Taste. I'm Liz Joy, and today I'll be making a Delft-inspired couture dress cake for my mom's birthday. My mom has always loved collecting Delft china, and I wanted to bring that inspiration to life in a tasty, fashionable format for her. I'm starting with a base of hazelnut sablé breton, topped with espresso ganache, a layer of dark chocolate sponge, soaked with syrup made from Bailey's salted caramel Irish cream, and espresso Italian meringue buttercream. And then just continuing with those layers. Then I'm using a serrated paring knife to carve the cake into a bell-shaped skirt. And adding a crumb coat of espresso Italian meringue buttercream. I'm going to create voluminous panels for the skirt using this almond frost flex fondant from Sweet Chalet, which has a really lovely flavor and texture and can be rolled extremely thin. I'm going to use a thin, flexible ruler to cut out triangles in various sizes. Then I'll shape each triangle into a half cone using paper cones as molds. I'll set these aside to firm up for a little while before attaching them. Once the wedges have dried a bit, I can attach them with more espresso buttercream, making sure they're nice and secure. I'm happy with this placement, so now I'm going to coat everything with buttercream. I like using a fan brush for this step because it's nice and soft and can get into all the nooks and crannies without denting the delicate panels. Then I'll set this in the fridge for a little while so the buttercream can firm up. Next, I'm adding a coating of very firm dark chocolate ganache. This will ultimately be my top layer, so I want to smooth it out with vertical strokes. That way, if there are any sections that aren't perfectly smooth, they should just end up looking like draped fabric. I want the mannequin portion to be edible too, so I cast it out of dark chocolate using this mold I purchased on Amazon. Then I painted it using white poppy paint, which is nice and opaque and chocolate friendly. To attach the mannequin, I'm cutting out a little platform, coating it with ganache, and then securing her with a popsicle stick I inserted off camera. I really want this cake to come across looking like porcelain, so I'm airbrushing the ganache skirt using white cocoa butter. Now I'm going to bring back my Frost Flex fondant to create a delicate ruffle at the hem, rolling it as thinly as humanly possible. Next, I'm using edible glue to attach one strip of ruffles at a time until I've circled the entire skirt. If you're enjoying this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. I really enjoy reading all your comments and would love to hear what you think of this design. I want the next layer of ruffles to be made out of buttercream, so I'm using a ruffle frosting tip for the effect. I absolutely love how this turned out. In order to create as much depth as possible on this design, I'm going to begin by painting flowers directly onto the chocolate surface. I'm doing this with a combo of poppy paint and Karen Portelio's edible oil paints. Then I'm using royal icing and a simple brush embroidery technique to add additional dimension to some of the flowers. Next up is the bodice, starting with a base layer of pale blue fondant. Then I'm just going to keep adding more layers and details. First, a stitched ribbon accent. Then royal icing dots, which always add such a lovely lacy edge effect. Ruffled cap sleeves. Dainty back straps, an additional layer of extremely delicate paper-thin white ruffles on the sleeves, and tiny royal icing dots along all the sleeve edges. You can use a slightly damp paintbrush to tap down any pointy bits. I want to add a big floppy bow to the back of the dress and we'll be making it out of fondant, starting with the loops. To create a gathered effect for the loops, I fold each end into an M shape. Then loop and secure the ends together. To maintain as much volume as possible, I'm propping these open with rolled paper towels while they dry. Once they're firm enough to handle, I can attach them using royal icing. For the center knot, I'm crimping a small square of fondant and securing it around the joined loops. Next up comes the 3D foliage, starting with dainty fondant flowers. Then some tiny royal icing transfers, and big frilly buttercream blooms. Then it's time to zhuzh. I'm just going to place these as organically as possible, focusing most of the weight at the top of the skirt. And going back and adding frosting centers. Now I can finish the bow by adding the ribbon streamers, crimping one end of each into an M, then draping and securing them with royal icing. I also decided to add additional buttercream details to the hem. I want to add a wooden neck to the mannequin, so I'm shaping that out of chocolate fondant. For a final touch of fairy tale whimsy, I'm making royal icing transfer butterflies in several sizes. I start by piping the wings onto cellophane sheets using a scribe tool to create the design, then allowing them to dry overnight. Once completely dry, I can carefully detach them. I'm piping the bodies with thick consistency royal icing and attaching the wings at an angle. Then I can add a sprinkling of these little butterflies to the dress. I think they're the perfect final touch for this magical birthday bake. Let's take a look at the final cake before digging in.
3, 2, 1.